Okay, welcome to the Edgar Rice Burroughs podcast, episode number 11. My name is Tim DeForest. I'm the author of several books on subjects like pulp magazines and old-time radio and other aspects of what I call pre-digital pop culture. I also have a blog called Comics, Old-Time Radio, and Other Cool Stuff, writing about the same sort of things. And with me today is Jess and Scott. Go ahead and introduce yourselves.
And hello, everybody. This is Jess Terrell speaking to you via Gridley Wave from seclusion in Plooster, where if you hear a strange flapping noise or squawks overhead, think nothing of it. That's what everybody tells me, at least. Not to worry. They're just passing through, those big pterodactyls in the sky.
And I'm Scott Stewart, freelance writer and editor, and enjoy this time together to discuss the works of Edgar Rice Burroughs with both of you here.
And today we're doing something a little unusual. We're going to talk about a specific episode of the Tarzan radio series that was broadcast in 1950 and 1951. The episode is called Tarzan and the Arena of Death, and as those of you familiar with the Burroughs novels will recognize when you listen to it, it does take elements of the novel Tarzan in the City of Gold and incorporate it into this episode. Now, just a little bit about the history of Tarzan on radio. For American radio, there's been three important times where Tarzan has appeared on the airwaves. The first time was in 1932 in a serial that was broadcast 3 times a week in 15-minute episodes. And these were reasonably faithful adaptations of Tarzan of the first 2 novels. Jane was played by Burroughs' daughter Joan, and Tarzan was played by her husband, Jim Pierce. And they actually do a good job as actors. They're very good in the role, so it's not just nepotism. They were good in the part. And the serial tells a very fast and fun-moving story. Unfortunately, of the nearly 300 episodes produced, only the first 77 still exist today. They're great to listen to, but it cuts off right at a cliffhanger, and you don't get to hear the rest of it. Tarzan returned to radio again in 1934 and in 1936 for 2 separate 39-part stories. These were broadcast on weekdays for 15 minutes a day, and told 2 separate stories. The first was Tarzan and the Diamonds of Asher, which Edgar Rice Burroughs later reused plot elements and characters of that for his 1938 novel Tarzan and the Forbidden City. And then in 1936, it was Tarzan and the Fires of Tor, another 39-part story. In my opinion, this is Tarzan's high point on radio. These are both excellent stories. Burroughs himself contributed to the scripts, so they are very faithful to the characters, and they tell great adventure stories. They're worth listening to. They both exist in their entirety. Now, the Ape Man's last venture into radio was in 1950 for a weekly half-hour show that was produced by Commodore Productions. It was syndicated. All the episodes were written by a writer named Bud Lesser, and Tarzan was played by an actor named Lamont Johnson. In this version of Tarzan, there's no Jane. Tarzan's pretty much on his own in the jungle. He would often help the colonial authorities solve a mysterious crime or something like that, but most of the time he was in the jungle getting into jungle-type adventures, as he does in this episode. So we are going to be listening to the syndicated episode Tarzan and the Arena of Death, starring Lamont Johnson as the Ape Man.
From the heart of the jungle comes a savage cry of victory. This is Tarzan, Lord of the Jungle. From the black core of dark Africa, land of enchantment, mystery, and violence, comes one of the most colorful figures of all time, transcribed from the immortal pen of Edgar Rice Burroughs, Tarzan, the bronzed white son of the jungle. And now, in the very words of Mr. Burroughs, the story of Tarzan and the Arena of Death.
In the ever-important search for food, Tarzan was ranging a part of the jungle unknown to him. With the keen alertness of the wild creature, he was alive to all that was strange and unusual. No sound escaped his ears, no scent went unidentified from his keen nostrils. For those of the jungle, eternal vigilance is the price of life. Suddenly, Tarzan stopped. The scent of man was strong.
A native calls for help. You are hurt.
Mercy, Buana.
Do not be afraid. I'm Tarzan.
The Lord of the Jungle.
Now, be quiet now and rest. I'll get you water. You feel stronger now?
Oh, yes, Tarzan.
Who are you? What are you doing alone in this country?
I am Wanji, from the city of Ortho.
Ortho? The name is strange to me.
It is to the east. 2 suns.
2 days away. What brings you here?
My master, Thorvald, the king's brother, brought myself and others to hunt meat for our city. The lion men attacked us.
The lion men?
Yes. It was they who killed the others.
You're the only survivor of the hunting party?
But for my master, Thorvald, they took him prisoner.
These lion men, why are they so called?
They train lions to hunt and kill. They attack our village, kill many elephants which masters have trained to work.
Your masters are wise. An elephant can do the work of many men.
We are helpless against the lion men. They kill game in our valley. We must travel far to find meat for our people.
Well, the jungle has food for all. Where do these lion men live?
In the city of Victa, at opposite end of valley where my people live.
Ortho? Victa? Those names are from a past civilization.
The lion men are many and powerful, Lord of the Jungle. What can be done?
Your master is a prisoner. A powerful force threatens the peace of the jungle. We go to the city of Victa and the lion men.
We'll return in just a moment to our story of Tarzan and the Arena of Death. Tarzan's jungle-bred knowledge made the trail of the lion men easy to follow. Wanji, the native of Ortho, hurried to keep pace with the swift-moving lord of the jungle. Presently, the screams of Tantor, the elephant, came to Tarzan. Even louder was the roar of Numa, the lion.
Tantor is in trouble. Hurry!
Look! Tantor has fallen into pit. Numa, stand guard.
The lion men must have left a trained lion to watch over their quarry. We must release the elephant.
But the lion! It will kill you!
That may be. I'll take the chance. Of all the beasts in the jungle, I count the elephant as my best friend.
The lion turns! He sees us!
Stay back, Wanji. Numa roars a challenge.
With a mighty earth-shaking roar, the king of the beasts sprang toward the lord of the jungle. Knife in hand, the lithe bronze body of Tarzan hurtled through the air and fastened itself securely around the lion's back. A sinewy arm was flung around the beast's neck as Tarzan found a handhold in the shaggy mane hair. Long, muscled legs locked around the lion's shanks. Numa plunged, carrying Tarzan with him. Tarzan's knife flashed in the air once, twice, again and again as its sharp point sought a vital spot. And then the lion fell. Tarzan leaped from its back, put his foot on the vanquished lion's body, and loosed the victory cry so often heard through other jungles and plains.
Come. We will release Tantor.
Elephant killed.
I do not think so.
Deep cuts on back of elephant.
I will dip a bamboo stick in the mud of the riverbed and treat his wounds.
One tusk is dark.
It has been discolored, a distinctive mark. He's probably king of his herd.
He is big, Tarzan. How will you get him out of pit?
With my knife and your spear, we will dig a ramp so he can walk out. We're close to the river. The ground is not hard.
Then we will again follow the lion?
Yes, they cannot be far now. They must plan to return to get this elephant.
After Tarzan closed the elephant's wounds the best he could, he and Wanji set to work with spear and knife to excavate a ramp. Tantor, the pain of his wounds eased by Tarzan's crude but effective treatment, seemed to sense that these two strange men were his friends. He stood quietly, swaying gently from side to side as they worked.
There. That's complete. Yo, Tantor, Bondo. Handy. Stand back, Wanji. It's best to be cautious.
The great bull climbed slowly from the pit. As he came out, his sensitive trunk passed over the body of Tarzan in what was almost a caress.
Look, Tantor leaves peacefully. He does not harm us.
The bull will go back to his herd now, and his wounds will heal. Come, we must move swiftly after the lion men. They passed here not long ago.
The river tells you this?
No, these tracks. Come on. The scent of the spoor is fresh. We'll climb to the top of this rise. We should catch sight of them there.
You climb too swiftly, Tarzan. I cannot.
Look, Wanji, down there. As the jungle falls away to the plains.
The lion men.
A score of lions, followed by perhaps 100 warriors, and the lions behave like so many trained dogs.
Tarzan, the lions turn. They see us.
No, Wanji, they only catch our scent. The wind has shifted.
They are turning this way. They're coming after us.
Travel fast, Wanji. To your city of Ortho. Tell your king we'll need many men.
But you, Tarzan, what of you?
They will chase me while you escape.
The lions will tear you to shreds.
Not unless they've also been trained to climb trees, Wanji. It's our only chance. Go now, quickly.
Good luck, Tarzan.
Tarzan stood his ground as the lion men picked up the scent and started toward him. When Wanji was out of sight, Tarzan turned and raced in another direction. The lion men followed with the snarling, roaring beasts straining at their leashes, but could not keep pace with Tarzan.
Release 5 of the lions.
The 5 lions sprang from their masters and bounded after the Lord of the Jungle. The jungle echoed their roars. Had they been wild lions, they would have stalked their prey in silence, but now they raced upon Tarzan with savage fury. The bronzed white sun felt their breath on his neck as he hit a jungle vine and swung with all his might into a friendly tree. The lions leaped to seize him. Tarzan watched the snarling beast below him, and then the surrounding lion men approached and leashed the lions. Tarzan dropped from the tree into the midst of the men.
Ungo, Hoko! Horus, guard this man. Put him with the other prisoner. We will return to Victor. You are silent? Have you nothing to say?
Nothing.
You ask for nothing, no mercy?
Nothing.
You are a fool. Surely there must be something you want.
I would not ask anything of an enemy.
Burroughs, take him away. We go to Victor.
Get in there, wild men. Join the elephant man of Ortho.
You are not familiar to me.
You are Thorvald?
Yes? How did you know of me?
A native of your city, Wanji.
Wanji? I thought the lions killed him.
He was lucky to escape. He's now on his way to Ortho.
Good. My brother Ortho the king will be after us.
Thorvald, how do you account for the names of these cities, Ortho and Victor? They're from a language of another continent.
Well, it is said that in another age a band of people came from the other side of the great water in search of peace. Of these, only a few reached this valley. Even they quarreled among themselves and soon split into 2 groups, each setting up their own cities and gods.
And they're still enemies?
The people of Ortho are concerned with the fruits of the land. We have trained our elephants for work in the fields, and our crops have been abundant. Those of this city, Victor, are hunters. They kill many and plunder villages.
A great difference.
Indeed. As the people of Victor breed lions, we of Ortho breed elephants. Their god is Thus, the lion. Ours, Dias, is an elephant.
I only hope Wanji arrives safely in Ortho.
It is a long way. We may not be alive by the time my people arrive. We must escape.
There's little hope for that. These iron walls are strong, and the lions outside are many. Oh, the guard. And there are others with him.
Well, it is good to see the prisoner in such good spirits.
Go back to your lions, savage.
Silence, elephant men. You dare to speak to one of Victor in such a manner?
Talk will only work against you, Thorvald.
I do not care what these pigs of the jungle think. They can do nothing worse to me.
He wants to see what else we can do.
Do with me what you will. I do not fear your insane actions.
We shall see, Thorvald. Come, let us make sport with this noble elephant man. Chain these 2 to those racks over there against the wall. eat that iron.
I'm sorry, Tarzan. I fear it is I who caused this.
Quickly bring that iron.
You must not weaken now, my friend.
Dying is not easy.
Perhaps there's still a way. These chains are weak with rust.
They would kill us either way.
Oh, we're not dead yet, my friend.
Ah, Thorvald, your eyes widen at the sight of this red-hot iron. Look at it well. It is the last thing you will see.
As the guard moved toward Thorvald with the hot iron, Tarzan strained at his chains. His mighty chest expanded to capacity. His sinewy muscles, hard and rigid, fought at the iron links.
He has broken the chains!
Look out! As the chain dropped to the floor, Tarzan sprang at the guard with savage fury. His hand twisted the red-hot iron bar from the man's grasp and flung it to the far side of the prison. The other guards leaped on Tarzan, fighting to stop his onslaught. Tarzan was indeed a man possessed with a taste of freedom. 2 men went down under his relentless blows, but the odds were too great. The guards fought back to the heavy iron doors, and once outside, slammed them shut against Tarzan's might.
You fool! You will never know mercy.
I ask none.
We shall go to our king and tell of this devil with the strength of 1,000 men. Victor shall surely choose a fitting death for such a savage.
I owe you my life, Tarzan.
You owe me nothing, Thorvald. I would have done the same for Numa in the face of such inhuman action.
We are doomed now.
We can still hope that Wanji arrived safely at the city of Ortho and is returning with Orthon and his warriors. Guards are returning.
Victus the king is with them.
This is the wild man, mighty Victus.
So, Tarzan, you thought you could stand up against the lion men, huh?
Indeed, I tried.
And for such a mighty warrior, it is only fitting that your death befit you. We have something special planned.
So?
Tomorrow, in the great arena of Victor, all our people will turn out to see your great strength.
Am I to fight lions?
No, wild man. Tomorrow, you and Thorvald die in the arena, trampled and gored to death by our rogue elephant.
In just a moment, the exciting conclusion of Tarzan and the Arena of Death.
They will be here shortly, Tarzan.
I know.
We shall die.
I know that also. There's nothing unique about that. Many people have died. Many will die.
Does it frighten you?
No. We must all die. What matters is how we die. If we meet death courageously, there'll be no regrets.
For myself, I'm glad that an elephant is going to kill me. For I'm an elephant man, and I bear the title with pride.
I should prefer the lion, for the elephant has always been my friend. My very best friend, perhaps. I do not like to think that a friend must kill me.
The one in the arena today will not be your friend, Tarzan.
No, but others have been.
You think there's still a way out?
I always hope. It is possible.
Prisoners, we go now to the arena.
We're ready.
The people of Victor await their sport.
Half 100 warriors of Victor, all in their best trappings, their freshly burnished arms shining in the sunlight, formed a procession in front of the palace. A full 100 lions, tugging on their leashes held by the warriors, roared their power. Following, herded by 4 huge black-maned lions, came Tarzan, Thorvald, and other doomed prisoners. A full company of warriors carrying banners and pennons brought up the rear. Victius sat majestically in the royal loge. The procession moved past the cheering citizens, whose anticipation of thrills was heightened by the rumors of Tarzan's strength.
We are being taken to the arena. There we will watch while the others before us are killed.
Those gates blocking both ends of this corridor, they do not seem very strong.
They do not have to be. No one can escape.
The arena is filled now. The events are to begin. There are other victims before us.
Look, that giant who's entering the arena now is Mayak. See, he carries a sword and a spear.
He's a lion man?
A favorite gladiator of the people.
And the man facing him, he's armed with only a small dagger.
It'll be more of an execution. Endure.
That was over with quickly.
Poor fellow. He had no chance.
I think I could have defended myself against Myark the giant.
Careful. The guard overheard you.
You think you could have defeated him?
Oh, why not? He's clumsy and stupid. Most of all, he's a coward.
Perhaps we can arrange an encounter for you after the next event. In all Victor, there is none more courageous than Myark.
I can believe that.
Look.
Yes.
They're letting a lion loose into the arena.
Oh, that lion is old. Most of his teeth are gone.
But he is a killer.
Yes, he is still a powerful brute.
I suppose you think you could defeat a lion, too.
I have.
The beast roars for an opponent.
But if Myark kills you, we will never know if you could have killed the lion.
I will fight them both at once if Myark is not afraid to go into the arena with the lion.
I will see about this. It would indeed be something to watch.
Why could you say that?
Didn't I tell you I'd rather be killed by a lion than an elephant?
I wonder what they planned for me.
We will find out only too soon.
Mighty victors, permit me to speak.
What is it, God?
The bronzed one called Tarzan laughs at our sport.
He finds himself facing death and he laughs?
Tarzan says he can defeat both the giant Myark and a lion.
And the elephant man, what is he to say?
He says nothing, but he seems unafraid.
This should be an interesting performance. Perhaps we can make it more difficult for these brave fools.
How do you mean?
The elephant we captured last night. He is mighty and a vicious rogue. We shall put all three against Tarzan and Thorvald.
Oh, wild man, it is arranged. Even more to your liking, perhaps.
What do you mean?
It seems you are honored, Tarzan. You and this elephant man will go into the arena together. Not only with Myark and a lion, but the rogue elephant as well.
The elephant, too?
Yes, and a fine specimen of beast, as wild as a maddened bull.
What does Myark think of this?
I think he does not like the idea. But if Myark can kill you before the lion and the elephant are let into the arena, he will be made a captain.
Are you ready, Thorvald?
Yes, Tarzan.
Follow me. You will take your places in the center of the arena immediately.
Stay behind me, Thorvald. I have a plan.
I can't let you face him alone. He has a spear and a sword. We have nothing with which to defend ourselves.
Oh, you're wrong, my friend. We have our wits.
The giant Myark ran toward the two men, holding his spear in front of him. Tarzan stood his ground as Myark lunged the spear point at the naked breast of the Lord of the Jungle. Tarzan seized the shaft of spear and wrenched the weapon from Myark's grasp, hurling it to the ground behind him. As Myark reached for his sword, Tarzan was upon him. Steel-sinewed fingers seized the giant and swung him around.
The lion is loose.
Stand perfectly still. If you try to run, it will chase you.
It is trotting toward us.
Yes, but it's a small lion, pitifully emaciated. It has evidently been starved to make it ravenous.
Myark shows fear, Tarzan.
I will give this Numa something to eat.
Tarzan's words struck terror into the heart of Myark. He struggled fiercely, but could not escape the vice-like grip Tarzan had on him. As the lion approached, Tarzan moved to meet him, pushing Myark ahead of him. Just before the beast launched its lethal charge, Tarzan gave Myark a tremendous shove directly toward the lion. Myark turned quickly to one side and broke into a run. Tarzan stood his ground. Not a muscle moved. The lion turned from Tarzan and Thorvald and pursued the running Myark. Directly in front of the royal loge where Victia sat spellbound, the lion sprang, and Myark went down to a mercifully quick end.
Release the elephant.
Quickly, then. We don't have much time. I'll dispose of the lion.
As the lion stood growling over the body of Myark, its back toward Tarzan and Thorvald, Tarzan sped with the swiftness of Sheeta the panther and leaped astride the cat. The mighty elephant caught Tarzan's scent and started across the arena. Tarzan grasped the lion by the mane and loose hide on its back. He lifted it bodily, at the same time swinging and whirling the beast with him. It was the lightning quickness of his act that made it possible. That and his great strength, as with one superhuman effort, he flung the roaring beast into the royal loge of Victius. The lion clawed at the king, lashing his taloned paws out as he fought from one loge to another.
Tarzan, the elephant.
Get back!
Edgar, stop him.
Yes. He has a discolored tusk, Onesie, and I released him from a pit.
He caresses you with his tusk.
Quickly, climb on his back. He'll batter down the logs of the palisade. Nada, Nuno! Nuno!
The elephant gathered Tarzan and Thorvald in its folds and lifted them to its head. At a sharp command from Tarzan, the mighty beast whirled and charged across the arena. With lowered head, the great bull crashed into the flimsy palisade at the inner end of the corridor. Then the outer palisade fell before him, and he carried Tarzan and Thorvald out into the plain and toward freedom.
Look behind, Tarzan. Already they're pouring out of the arena to give chase.
Before long, they'll be organized and in full pursuit. Once they loose the lions, we will have little chance of escape.
Look ahead, beneath that cloud of dust. The racing elephants of Otho coming at full charge.
Unji, he's brought your people. But now we're right in the middle of a full-scale war.
Closing in rapidly, the opposing groups met with a clash as Tarzan and Thorvald wheeled the bull elephant to lead the charge. The mighty elephants of Orthos scattered the foe right and left, and the foot warriors closed in behind to thoroughly rout the lion men, who were not prepared to meet an attack of such proportion.
The Victians retreat, my friend.
Yes, my people have shown their strength.
Their retreat is cut off. The sign of surrender is called.
Perhaps this will be the last of our battles.
Oh, but the toll of men is great. Come, Thorvald, let us go to your kingdom. Victius and Orthon, I bring you together under a flag of truce. You both seem stunned by the useless slaughter of so many men and animals.
We have long been enemies, Tarzan.
What is to be gained by killing?
Tarzan is right. We could live in peace.
I am ready, Tarzan, to abide by your suggestion.
And you, King of the Lion Men?
I will obey.
There is no reason why you should be hereditary enemies.
We're all of the same ancestors.
You, Orthon, have taught your people to work the fields and produce abundant crops.
That is true.
And you, Victius, have taught your men to hunt well.
Yes.
Together, your peoples have all that is necessary for a bountiful life. You can work and provide each other with the fruits of your labor.
I am willing to accept this plan, Victius.
Yes, Orthon. We shall be friends. Welcome to our valley.
I know this peace shall be a lasting one. And now I must return to my home.
You have done us a great service, Tarzan.
And I shall never forget how you saved my life.
Oh, Tantor saved both our lives, Thorvald.
Yes, it was amazing. That elephant remembered what you had done for him.
The beasts of the jungle are not given enough credit. Like humans, they too will welcome kindness, and when they return that kindness, it often means the difference between life and death.
In just a moment, a preview of our next exciting story of Tarzan. In our next story, you'll hear about a fabulous uranium discovery in the hidden land of Gurma, a land dedicated to peaceful farming, suddenly inflamed by a savage lust for war. You'll meet a sinister woman known as Panther, her equally sinister partner, and the most vicious killer Africa has ever seen, Tremaine.
Included in our cast were Jack Moyles, Bob Bruce, Victor Rodman, and Charles Seal. Tarzan, a creation of the famous Edgar Rice Burroughs, is produced and transcribed by Walter White, Jr., prepared for radio by Robert Schaefer and Eric Freewald, with original music by Albert Glasser. This is a Commodore production.
Okay, and that was Tarzan and the Arena of Death from December 1950, with Lamont Johnson as playing Tarzan. And first thing I want to ask you guys is this Tarzan Edgar Rice Burroughs Tarzan? Do they do a good job of giving us the character as we see him in the novels?
Well, in my opinion, yes, he's articulate. He has good principles, and I think presents himself very well based on this one episode that we've heard.
Yeah, Scott, what did you think?
Yeah, I did too. Realizing that we're working in the field of radio, he needs to speak more to let people know what's going on. But again, we know Tarzan is very intelligent and educated and everything as part of his backstory. So that should come as a surprise. The only thing that caught me a little off guard, and has nothing to do with Tarzan's script or dialogue or anything, is I expected Tarzan's voice to be a little lower, maybe. That's just how I've probably heard him in my head, reading the books all these years or different movies. But I expected his voice to be a little gruffer, maybe, or a little lower. But it didn't distract or ruin it for me. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah,
more like Robert Ridgely from the Filmation cartoons.
Like in what?
Robert Ridgely, who did the voices in the Saturday morning Filmation cartoons.
Oh yeah, that was right on.
Yeah, that was great voice work. I love that cartoon, and that he had the Tarzan voice, I think. But this Tarzan, it is pretty good. There is a part where he's talking about dying, and he just says he's not afraid of death as long as he's lived life well, which I thought was very Tarzan-esque. It was a great line of dialogue that really captured the character.
I agree with that, because his philosophy is, having grown up in a jungle like that, retains that wild aspect. You're born and you live, and sometime you're going to die.
Mm-hmm.
And another comment about voice, if I may. I know from following the DC animated stories, be it television shows or the various movies they put out, they put a great deal of emphasis on the voice actor. So that is the person who sounds the part, who can inflict the necessary emotion and demonstrate that feeling, fear, anger, whatever the emotion is. Demonstrate that through inflection and tones in their voice. There's probably a science to it, or an art form in finding the right voice to depict the character.
Yeah, good voice actors in radio were very busy because everybody wanted them on their shows. Actors in the 50s like William Conrad had to hire an ambulance to rush him from one studio to another in order to get there in time for the next show he'd been hired to do.
And he had a long tour of duty as Marshall Dillon on Gunsmoke for radio before it ever transitioned over to television.
Oh, he did, but you can listen to a lot of 50s radio and he'll be there as in a bit part or a guest star role or whatever, just because he was in demand, because he was great on radio. So
exactly.
So if you had the right voice, whether it was distinctive or whether it was an everyman voice that somebody wanted for a part, you could work steady in radio in the 40s and 50s.
And expanding on Scott's point there for just a moment, if I may, in radio especially, in a radio program, it's essential for the character to have someone to talk to keep the dialogue, keep the show going. The last thing you want is dead air and have the audience guessing as to what's going on. Because I distinctly recall listening to Bud Collyer as Superman in a Superman radio program, and Superman is up there on this particular radio episode. He's up there flying around, and he's doing something heroic. As I recollect, he was trying to bend some steel so that he could plug a hole in a boat, perhaps. And he's going to weld it with his heat vision. But he had to talk to himself, since he's up there flying by himself. He had to talk to himself to explain to the audience what he was doing, so that they could visualize it. Theater or radio, like a book, radio is theater of the mind. So once you have that vocal nudge, that vocal direction from the actor's voice or actress's voice, then you can picture picture the events in your head. Close your eyes and just let it evolve in whatever kind of panorama you like. Theater of the mind.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And Tarzan and other shows, other radio shows would often use a narrator very effectively to describe a lot of the action. But we notice in this one that Tarzan meets Wamji real early on, and Wamji travels with him. And part of the reason that happens is so that Tarzan has somebody to talk to. And the action is explained to us through their dialogue.
Exactly.
Also, it kind of overlapped for the radio because of when the movies became the talkies.
Mm-hmm.
There are people who could look good in the silence, but they didn't have the voice for that. So there was a changeover in New York and Hollywood, even Chicago, where some of these dramas were performed in that way. And if I go back a number of years when I used to work at a radio station, and on Saturday nights, we would run old Inner Sanctum radio dramas. Mm-hmm. And there's a core group of people in the area who did theater and media and stuff who enjoyed getting together and listening to those. And I tell you, we're maybe biased or prone to that because of the way we enjoy it. But you get some of those old creaking doors and the characters who are talking to each other as opposed to a narrator. So it sounds like there's 1, 2, 3, 4 people there conversing, and someone isn't telling you what's happening. You're going by the sound effects. It's definitely the theater of mind becomes the theater of reality if you're sitting in a dark room.
Yes, sound effects were vitally important. What did you guys think of the sound effects in this one? The background noises, the lion roars, the trumpets, the elephant trumpeting, all of that.
I thought worked well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, excuse me. I felt they were good. Mm-hmm. They did not overshadow, is the word I was looking for. They did not overshadow the events, and there was not much opportunity. There was a device or a technique called the Foley machine from the days of radio programs that would be used to make all kinds of noises, like a person walking, taking steps, for example. We did not, of course, they're in the jungle, so we didn't really hear their footsteps. But that's a typical one during a tense moment, is to hear footsteps. Mm-hmm. But the sound effects they had, I felt were well timed and did not overshadow, but were there in the right spot to offer the right sound to set the mood to bring that theater of the mind to life.
Yes, so they supported the narrative effectively.
Good, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, I think the most interesting thing, and Jess, I know you've got some notes you're going to go over here. Some of the most interesting things about this is comparing it to the source material, because this was based very loosely on the 1932 novel Tarzan and the City of Gold. And it takes the basic situation from that novel and simplifies the story considerably, but puts Tarzan into kind of that same story. But of course, there's a lot of differences. Probably the major one is that in the novel, we were just talking on Facebook about how to pronounce her name. The queen of the City of the Lions was Nemone. Am I saying it right?
You're close. Nemone.
Nemone.
The pronunciation is akin to a sea anemone.
Okay.
Of course, there's no A in the spelling of the name, but it would rhyme. Let's say Nemone. And I know I will goof this before the night's over, so let me put that disclaimer right now. Nemone, and you got very close there, Tim. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, and that's the major change right there, because she was a major character and actually a very interesting villain. She had her pet lion with her that she felt connected to, and I don't want to give spoilers, but when something happens to the lion, at the end something happens to her as well. And so it's dropping her from the story changed the feel of the story considerably. And I assume that in a concise half-hour adventure tale, they just felt they didn't have room to put in Nemone and have that interaction with Tarzan and still be able to get in all the adventure stuff.
In many respects, I think this becomes a little different story. There's still the basics of two warring cities is there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and there's a volcano missing also. That was in the City of Gold story. In fact, they spent an entire day dancing around and celebrating anytime they were going up to visit the volcano. They were all very excited about it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how they reacted when the volcano erupted. They were probably dancing a different direction in those days. But what I saw here, the which goes into the lesson, is the this Aesop story of Androcles and the lion, where Aesop, that's my machine making, where Aesop pulled, or in the story Androcles rather, pulled a thorn out of a lion's paw and nursed it back to health. Tarzan does a similar thing here in this radio program, where he has an alien elephant that he helps nurse.
Yeah, and that pays off at the end when the elephant saves them.
So
yeah, they had to be thinking directly of the Aesop story when they did this. Of course, Burroughs uses that in his books too. With probably the most close analogy is Von Horst in Back to the Stone Age saving the mammoth, and then the mammoth later saving him.
One of my favorites. Yes, that's
yeah.
a very good point.
Yeah, so they may have been thinking of the Aesop, or they may have just been stealing from another Burroughs novel, or they may have been thinking of both of them. So, but yeah, it was kind of a neat little lesson there, and it's something that does reflect what Burroughs does with animals in his stories a lot. When you show even a wild animal kindness, then you'll earn its loyalty. If anybody wants to go back and listen to mini podcast number 1, I actually talk about that and give several examples. So it is a common theme in Burroughs' stories for a wild animal who is helped by the hero to then come back and help the hero.
Yeah, and not just in the Tarzan movies. We were a couple episodes back when we were talking about Pellucidor, in the core of the earth, and the hyena-like dog.
Yeah.
That showed up and was a companion for a short time.
Yep. And so, Jess, you had some other things in your notes about the story. You noticed that Wamji uses Mangani language, says Numa and Tantor, which
he does.
Yeah.
Excuse me. It's possible he picked that up from hanging around Tarzan, maybe.
Yeah.
But that is Mangani language, and not something that's commonly known.
Yeah.
To people who don't frequent with the great apes, Tarzan being the only one, really.
Yeah, but I think if all of us, if any of us traveled with Tarzan for a few days, we'd probably start saying Numa and Tantor as well. So,
I agree.
Yeah, but that is actually kind of, I don't know if you call it a plot hole or not. In the novel, Tarzan spends the time as a prisoner in the City of the Lions and has time to learn the language. Here, everybody just speaks English for no reason at all. And of course, I realize it's like a Star Trek episode. You can't deal. you can't take time out of the story to deal with the language problems. You just have everybody speak English, and you don't worry about it.
The universal translator in Star Trek saved them a lot of trouble.
That did, but I don't think Tarzan carries a universal translator in his quiver. So here, they just ignored the language problems for the sake of moving the story around all along. So.
Well, you also have, thanks for the transcription, it comes out to about 13 pages. If you look at a normal script or a movie script, a page is usually about 1 minute. So
yeah.
Let's say if it's formatted in certain ways, it'd be about 15 pages. Well, when you had, the shows were never half hour, just like the sitcoms on TV now. You would have intro, and you'd have the sponsor and the advertisements and stuff like that. So you're actually looking at a story running somewhere 15 to maybe 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And they're just going to bring in the story and go straight on to the action. The only other thing would be, and I know some of the other radio dramas would do this, where there's something dynamic enough where the people come back to the next episode and do a cliffhanger. But most of the Tarzan ones were very self-contained. Just get in, tell the story, and get out.
Yeah. Now, this was syndicated. It ran 26 minutes, this episode. And so at that point, they were recording on tape, which made it easier to syndicate and send it off to other to individual stations. But if a local station found a sponsor for it, they would have spliced a commercial on, 2 or 3 minute commercial on to the beginning or the end.
Mhm.
So you didn't have to worry about putting a commercial break into the middle of the episode.
Yeah, they could run it straight through like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, and this version of Tarzan, I think I mentioned in the introduction, Jane didn't appear, and that became kind of a thing in the movies in the late 50s and early 60s. They started to ignore Jane for a while, and the Ron Ely TV series also no Jane. So this may be the first example of a version of Tarzan where they just dropped Jane out of the story entirely.
Well, she was also missing from several of the latter half of the Tarzan books. Also.
Yeah. Well, Tarzan be traveling around the jungle, and you presume
Right.
Jane's waiting back at their estate with pretty much infinite patience. I sometimes thought Tarzan needed to go to be a good husband classes, because how many months at a time did he leave poor Jane alone there? So,
Well, and I think there's stories waiting to be told about Jane. She may have been having some adventures of her own.
She may have.
Fighting bad guys and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Which has been suggested by the Tarzan Twins webcomic, ERB webcomic.
Mhm.
So I think there's some Jane adventures waiting to be told. I think she was doing more than tending to her flowers.
That's probably true, because she was pretty awesome when she does appear in the novels. Of course, it should be noted that Burroughs himself wanted to kill Jane off fairly early in the series. I think in the 7th book, Tarzan. But the editors objected to that. And
Tarzan the Untamed is where that almost occurred.
Yep. But then she had to turn out to, she's really alive at the end, and that was, I think, a publisher's mandate. So to be fair, Burroughs himself tried to get rid of Jane to free Tarzan up just to have adventures.
Well, a similar thing was tried in the Johnny Weissmuller movies. If memory serves, it was right at the end of Tarzan Finds His Son. Jane was seriously wounded, and they had 2 endings filmed and tested it. I may have the movie title wrong, but it's one of the first Weissmuller movies. And tested it with audiences and showed that Jane passed away, and they received a very negative reaction. So fortunately, they had the other ending already filmed, and then when it was issued nationally, they put it on there with Jane surviving. Burroughs, when he heard about this, he warned them. He said, killing Jane will not work, because he'd already been that route. he was expecting an uproar, and his thoughts were confirmed.
Wow.
So Jane got to live.
So Jane is effectively unkillable. You can ignore.
Other movies too, like, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Scott.
I was going to say, like, Tarzan's Desert Mystery or Desert Adventure, or she's helping take care of soldiers, and basically he's not in the movie at all, except for
wasn't she like back?
Back and forth.
Yeah, she was like back in England working as a nurse or something, right? So so you can ignore Jane, but you can't kill her. Is basically how it works.
I think they also, the first 2 movies, 3 movies, if you want to say, they also marketed Tarzan as a romance, wild man or jungle romance. So I think after they got past that point, and probably seeing the audience gearing to the, most likely, I don't have the proof in my hands here, gearing to the younger boys, and then it became much more of that adventure serial type thing, as opposed to the more formalized romance. So the first Tarzan movie has action in it, but the story is really developed in different steps to get them together.
Well, Tarzan and Jane is considered one of the great romances of literature. It's certainly on my list, and others' lists as well, as far as romantic stories is concerned.
Yeah, it's Tarzan wouldn't be the same without Jane. Even though in the novels he does sometimes seem like a very inattentive husband, you wouldn't want Tarzan to be around without Jane. Even in a radio show like this, you could pretend Jane's off back at their estate, and she's just not in the particular adventures he's been having in the radio show.
Right.
Okay. Any other comments just about the radio show or its comparison to the original novel?
I had some insight here, and I was inspired by one of my favorite ERB reference books, and that book entitled The Tarzan Novels of Edgar Rice Burroughs by David Ullery. I do recommend it. It's an excellent summary and examination of those of the original ERB Tarzan books. Mr. Ullery was commenting on the City of Gold, which this radio show we have established is similar to in some respects, where he was talking about the two cities, the two warring cities. In City of Gold, it was Athne and Kathne, and here in this radio program, it was the city of Artho, and the other city was Victa. Artho favoring elephants and Victa favoring lions, again similar to Kathne and Athne. But David says in discussing the book City of Gold, but these two cities fighting each other, it felt like the rulers had decided that war was a thrilling game and that peace was boring. And that's more or less a direct quote, which I would agree. And I think that's probably a sad but true statement of humanity. Two cities forgetting about what the original fight was over, but they've learned to enjoy the act of war. But as we have come to learn in reality, granted we're talking fiction, but in reality we have come to learn that war without purpose is destructive, not only for lives, but for society as a whole. It turns soldiers into chess pieces and civilians into refugees. And I also felt, as much as I enjoyed any Tarzan story, as much as I enjoyed this particular program, that the two leaders towards the end there, at the conclusion, Arthan and Victius, from the two representing the two cities, were too quick to agree with Tarzan as the value of peace. They didn't put up a fuss. They didn't argue. They didn't say, but we were bred for war, or that those evil guys in the other city did such and such to us 100 years ago. There was no explanation. They immediately, at Tarzan's suggestion, they said, you all are stronger together than you are apart, that you shouldn't be fighting, you should be cooperating and sharing and trading and working together. Well, they were very quick to agree with that. I felt for that to be plausible, there should have been more explanation there. Something as simple like, well, gee whiz, I don't even remember what this war was about. Started 100 years ago or 200 years ago, or whatever it was. Yeah. So we agree. Go ahead. Someone's trying to say something.
I was going to say, you could argue that Victius, since his army has just been defeated in battle, might have just been agreeing to anything because his army had just been defeated and he had no choice. There could be
That's a good point.
Could be room for a sequel there where he's like later causing trouble with the Alliance.
Good point. Very good point.
Yeah.
And like the old saying, you know, tug on Superman's cape or spit in the wind, you don't say no to Tarzan.
That's a good analogy. I like that.
I tell you, I did enjoy the entire sequence in the arena where Tarzan's saying, hey, I can beat your champion, and I can beat your lion. Oh, if you want me, I'll take the lion and the champion on at the same time, and ends up throwing the lion into the king's box. And that was very Tarzan-esque to me. That whole, his confidence and his ability to actually back up what he was saying he could do. You know, he wasn't bragging. He was just saying, I can do this. Let me go show you. Was, I thought, very Tarzan-esque. It really caught the essence of the character's confidence in his physical skill.
That's a great point. And that's one of the things that sets Tarzan different. You know, you put a character in a fictional situation, a character from any story, and if the character is any good, they're going to handle it according to their approach to problem solving, according to their strengths, according to their personality. Tossing a lion in the opponent's box where the king is sitting is something right out of the Tarzan book of behavior. But not every hero is going to be able to do that kind of thing.
Yeah. So, okay. Any other comments about the radio show?
I wanted to give, Tim, you a shout out. You prepared a transcript of this this 26-minute radio program. You prepared a transcript for us that ran, I think it was, what did we say, 13 pages.
13 pages.
Thank you for doing that. I know that it took some time. It was tedious, but it's much appreciated. It certainly helped me out. So
it's no problem. I enjoyed doing that. And Scott, you were going to say something.
Oh, I really enjoyed it. Listened a couple times, and I have some of the radio episodes on albums that came out years ago and a cassette tape deck with goes on. They really, I really get a lot of enjoyment and a kick out of it, just having it play and kicking back for that half hour and stuff. They move quick. It's enjoyable. It's a Tarzan adventure. As both of you said, different things he did in here were very Tarzan-esque. You know, the beginning of the script says, well, here in Edgar Rice Burroughs' own words is this tale of Tarzan. And it's a nice job. It doesn't take away from the books or the movies or any of the other predispositions we might have toward the character. It makes it a lot of fun.
Yep. Okay. And I just want to those listening to this podcast, I want to recommend the various Tarzan radio shows to you. Most of them all of them are in the public domain, so they're easily findable on the internet. I believe the erbzine.com site has all or most of them. If you listen to the original 1932 series, just be ready for disappointment when it suddenly stops in the middle of the story, because the later recordings are missing. But the two 39-part serials are superb. Jess, it might be worthwhile to post one a day on the For Love of All Things Edgar Rice Burroughs site, and let people
that's
listen
an
to
excellent idea. I will make a note of that, and I'll have one up in the morning.
Okay.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, just give everybody one chapter a day, the way it was originally listened to. And the 50 series is also very good. A number of excellent episodes. And in fact, I don't think I've listened to one I didn't dislike. There were some that were stronger than others, but overall it was a very strong, entertaining show that is faithful to the character of Tarzan. I guess that's it for this episode, because we are going to be going close to an hour and a half once, including time for so let's just say once again, I am Tim DeForest. My books are available on Amazon.com, and my website is comics, old time radio, and other cool stuff. I hope you visit. Jess, you're going to want to plug your Facebook group, right?
Yes, I was concerned with pterodactyls earlier when we first came online here, and I failed to mention my Facebook discussion group for the love of all things Edgar Rice Burroughs with Lilla Pop, where we are talking ERB Pertinier 24/7. Love to have you all come and join us for the love of all things Edgar Rice Burroughs.
And Scott Stewart here. I just want to say, with everything going on, I hope all the listeners out there that as best as you can, keep yourself healthy.
Yeah. For somebody listening to this in the far future, this is being recorded when we're all on lockdown from the coronavirus thing. So please stay healthy. Please keep an eye out for future episodes. We are tentatively planning to discuss the Burroughs novel, The Pirates of Venus, next time. So we will be visiting the planet Venus. We've been to Mars a couple of times and Africa a number of times. Now we'll be going to Venus. And so please keep an eye out for that. And also, if you're listening to this in early April of 2020, right after it posts, there will, within a few days, be a mini podcast dealing with the question that drives Jess's blood pressure up, which is why doesn't Tarzan have a beard? And so we're going to cover what the original books say about that, and that will post a few days after this one.
Regarding the blood pressure thing, permit me here to jump in. I enjoy, and I welcome, and I want questions related to ERB in my Edgar Rice Burroughs discussion group for the love of all things Edgar Rice Burroughs. I want questions. But the thing about why doesn't Tarzan have a beard, it just tends to recur. So that's why that's the one question that can be asked that will affect my blood pressure. Go ahead, Tim.
Okay. But anyway, I think that's it for this time. So I thank everybody for listening, and thank you for supporting this podcast. We'll see you all later.